Did you ever wonder why we take inventory? Why our four-step inventory is done at all? Well, it's because it shows us the truth. And some things you just can't see the truth until you put it down on paper. And to give you an example, I want to tell you a story about something where we thought we knew the truth. We thought by looking at something we knew the truth, but until we actually put something down that gave us the data, we didn't know anything. And so take a look at this pink stake here, and then take a look at my fence. When you look straight front to back, it looks like I put my fence on my neighbor's property. In fact, when they cleared the lot, the builder thought that, the guys who did the clearing thought that, and when they pointed it out to us, boy, I sure thought that too. And I was wondering, what are we gonna do? What's this fence gonna cost to move? How the heck did this happen? Got all resentful about it, resentful toward my new neighbor, even though I knew this is probably my fault, resentful toward myself. How did this happen? How did this mistake happen? And then we started taking some measurements and we thought, well, maybe this isn't on our property. You know, we went all the way to the back, we found that some trees were pushing the string that we used, and we weren't sure. But at the same time, boy, when you look at this from the street, it sure looks like that fence is way over on the neighbor's property. In fact, let's go closer to the pink stake, because normally you just mark all four corners, and that's kind of the point here. Normally you mark all four corners. You don't do the line like we're going to look at in a second, and that's when the truth comes out. So when we try to do things in our head, it's like marking the four corners of the property. Sometimes you get the truth, sometimes you don't get the truth at all. So now, after we measured from the house to the edge of the fence, we said, wait a minute, according to the survey, that fence post is exactly where it needs to be. So the builder came and had a little bit more expensive survey done where they put the property line stakes in. And now let's look and see what happens here. Compare the property marker stakes to when you put some pen to paper and you do an inventory. You know, this first stake is where you write down what's your resentment. What are you resentful at? Well, I guess at the time I was resentful at this neighbor for thinking that I put my fence on his property. Even though maybe it was my fault and maybe I did put the fence on the property, I still had the resentment. Okay, so that might be stake 2, is the why. Now, as you can, I don't know if you can see here, but now there's a string because now we have extra points of data because we maybe wrote something down. So now I come over here and let's say this is my second column. Why am I resentful? Well, okay, it's because my neighbor and all his builder and whatnot pointed this out. Oh, but look, all of a sudden we can see a little more. We can see that the property line doesn't go the way we thought it went because the fence isn't necessarily the line. So now you can see the line goes totally different direction. The fence is actually on the property. And then we start looking a little further if this was our four-step inventory and how does this affect us? Well, it affects my financial security. I'm thinking I got to pay to have this fence moved. It affects my personal relationships because now I'm all stressed out. My wife is stressed out. We're not fighting, but we're discussing what to do about this. It's affecting my relationship with my new neighbor because now I'm thinking we got tension here, as well as his builder and that sort of thing. It's affecting my my personal security because now me and my new neighbor have a possible issue and all that. So this little line here, which we thought was going one way, is really affecting me. And then when I flip it over, before I saw this, I could say, well, it's my part in this is because when we put the fence up, we just put it up where we thought the property line was. Happens that we were right, but we weren't as careful as maybe we should have been to stake it out like this is, so that we could see exactly where it is and explain to the neighbor off the bat. So in some ways, we set this rolling by just not having the due diligence in place that maybe would have prevented the question, because now the neighbor had to pay to do this line. So that's kind of it. But the point is here, I'm gonna walk you back to the street here, see if I do this right. I'm gonna see if I can show you what we saw, and then walk you all the way to the back, and so then you can see the truth. And now that this line is here, the truth couldn't be more obvious, but I swear, before this line was here, when you looked at this through the same lens that everybody looked at it through, my fence is on his property. However, as soon as we start sort of writing stuff down by staking the actual property line, we didn't know anything. So it's amazing how wrong you can be when you think you're right because of what your eyeballs see. And this isn't just me, this is the builder, the neighbor, my wife, me. All of us thought this fence might be on their property. But until we actually inventoried my fence, we didn't find out that we were actually okay. And now, as you can see, if you can see this string line, look how far that fence is on my property. We knew this part, this part wasn't in question, but now look, I've got trees that I own that I didn't think I owned. I've got land that now I can plant on. So, inventory reveals a lot, and it's just like this string line. When you stop doing it in your head, which is what we were doing at the street, and you do it on paper, which is what this string represents, you'll find that you'll find oftentimes that either you were way wrong, maybe way right, but you might get things coming that you didn't know you had coming, more land. But the bottom line is you get the truth, and that's why we write inventory, and that's why we don't do it in our head. And the better yet thing is we share it with another. So that's what I'm doing here with you as it relates to this issue. My resentment with my neighbor is over because now I feel good about the situation. We've talked to them, they're okay, and hopefully this lesson helps you. Bye.